sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror.
Giuliana Rancic had a super successful career as a host and co-anchor in the celebrity news industry for years. She was basically on top of the world until everything suddenly came crashing down for her. The collapse of Giuliana's career could have easily been avoided, but she was the only one to blame. The truth about how she caused her own downfall is honestly unbelievable, so let's get into it. Giuliana first started working with E! in 2002 as a reporter for E! News. It didn't take long for her to make her way up the network's ladder, and by 2005, she had earned the titles of anchor and managing editor. But she didn't just stick to working on one show. Giuliana and her husband, Bill, began starring in their own reality series on E! called Giuliana and Bill, which premiered in 2009. The following year, her success skyrocketed even further when she took on yet another role with the network. In 2010, Giuliana became one of the hosts of Fashion Police. The show allowed her and her co-host to critique the style choices of celebrities with a witty and sometimes pretty snarky delivery. Over the next few years, it seemed like Giuliana was almost everywhere you looked. She was nominated for major awards, including the Daytime Emmy Awards and People's Choice Awards. In 2013, Giuliana and her husband even won a Gracie Allen Award for Best Reality Show. But her popularity wasn't the only thing that changed in an extremely bizarre way. Giuliana became one of E!'s biggest names, and the fame and success seemingly started going to her head. She seemed to think that her reputation with the network meant that her status as a host was basically untouchable. What happened next not only proved her wrong, but also sparked her unexpected demise.
I have to call my husband right now. That's crazy.
In 2015, Fashion Police aired a special episode that highlighted the wardrobe choices of celebrities at the Academy Awards. But when it was time for the co-host to discuss Zendaya's decision to wear a stunning Vivienne Westwood dress, things took an outrageous turn for the worse. Instead of sticking to sharing her opinion on the gown, Giuliana attempted to make a joke about Zendaya's hairstyle. But the joke wasn't funny, and it was honestly really offensive. Giuliana said that Zendaya's dreadlocks probably smelled like patchouli oil or a certain type of green plant, if you catch my drift. It was obviously an unnecessary comment since it had nothing to do with the dress, but it was also incredibly problematic. Giuliana's inappropriate jab definitely didn't go unnoticed, and Zendaya addressed it herself the following day. She posted on Twitter and Instagram that the remark had crossed the line of being funny and ended up being simply disrespectful. Zendaya brought up the very valid point that there was already so much undeserved criticism against black hair. She explained that by wearing locks on the red carpet, she wanted to help portray them in a positive way. But unfortunately, Giuliana's negativity had only added to the harmful racist stereotype. Not even an hour after Zendaya shared her true feelings, Giuliana tagged her in a post on Twitter. The message seemed to be an awful attempt at an apology, but it actually did nothing but make things even worse. Giuliana claimed that she was sorry for offending people, but apparently she had been making a reference to the bohemian chic style. She added that her comment had nothing to do with race and never would, and that was it. Not surprisingly, Giuliana was immediately called out for her apology. She had totally avoided taking any accountability, but by explaining the situation like it had just been a simple misunderstanding, she had turned it around to make it seem like Zendaya was overreacting. Giuliana received a ton of angry replies to her tweet, but she wasn't the only one facing backlash. Kelly Osbourne, another Fashion Police co-host, had been wrongly accused of making the rude comment, but when she set the record straight, she also made a startling revelation. Kelly made it clear when she posted on Twitter that she wasn't the person who had made the remark about Zendaya. Then she mentioned that because she didn't condone racism, she was considering leaving the show altogether. But that wasn't all. Kelly also announced that she was giving the parties involved in the scandal 24 hours to right their wrongs. Maybe that's what finally made Giuliana decide to try to apologize again. Or it might have been because the future of Fashion Police was beginning to look extremely uncertain. The next day, Giuliana released a video statement on E!, once again apologizing for her remark. But this time, she at least acknowledged that she had caused people hurt regardless of her intentions. Giuliana admitted that she truly had crossed the line, and she said that she had supposedly learned from the ordeal. She also committed to doing better in the future to make sure that she didn't perpetuate any other damaging stereotypes. Zendaya later posted on social media that she accepted Giuliana's apology and was happy that it was a learning moment for her. But a lot of other people still seemed torn on what to believe, and many of them weren't quite so forgiving. Some social media users thought that Giuliana's on-air apology sounded scripted and that the timing was too coincidental. And it turns out that some of her Fashion Police co-hosts might have agreed with that. What they did just days later was seriously shocking. Despite Giuliana's apologies, Kelly decided to completely walk away from the show. E! released a statement explaining that after 5 years as a co-host, she would be leaving Fashion Police to pursue other career options. But she later made the real reason for her departure insanely obvious. 2 weeks later, another Fashion Police co-host also called it quits. Kathy Griffin told the Chicago Sun-Times that she didn't think Giuliana should have made the offensive comment, which was very telling. Kathy is known for crossing boundaries as a comedian, and sometimes she's gotten into trouble for pushing the limits too far. So her mentioning that if she'd been in Giuliana's shoes, she never would have made the insensitive remark was really saying something. And later that same day, she backed up those claims in an unbelievable way. Kathy confessed on Twitter that the humor in Fashion Police had gotten too mean, so she no longer wanted to be involved with the show. She said that she didn't want to be a part of a culture of unattainable perfectionism and intolerance towards difference, and added that she supported people of color. Giuliana's apologies had apparently been too little too late for many people, including Kelly and Kathy. But because they had quit, Fashion Police only had Brad Goreski and Giuliana as co-hosts. Less than a week after Kathy's announcement, E! revealed the unexpected fate of the show. In a statement, the network broke the news that Fashion Police would be taking a 6-month break. They also said that all of the upcoming episodes that were already on the schedule to be filmed would instead be completely scrapped. After Giuliana's racially insensitive comment, she had no chance of rebuilding her reputation as a fashion critic if there was no show. Not to mention, many people still weren't convinced that she had genuinely meant what she said in her on-air apology. In July 2015, Giuliana announced that even though she had been a part of E! News for more than 10 years, she was saying goodbye. She wasn't totally leaving the network, but she would no longer be fulfilling the roles that had truly built her career. Giuliana claimed that she was excited to spend more time with her husband and their son, Duke, who was 3 at the time. She also had plans to add to her adult beverage and clothing lines, but Giuliana was no longer the face of the network or celebrity news. Her career change marked a major turning point in her professional life. For over a decade, she'd been one of the most successful hosts, anchors, and reality stars on E! But because she'd become too full of herself, everything that she'd worked for was destroyed basically overnight. After Giuliana stepped back from most of the roles she had on E!, she pretty much disappeared from the limelight. However, she hadn't totally given up hope. In 2018, she surprisingly returned to E! News as a co-host, but she definitely didn't have the success she had before her scandal. Just 1 year later, Giuliana announced that she wouldn't be co-hosting the show anymore. E! had changed filming locations to the East Coast, and she felt like all the travel would interfere with her other opportunities. Giuliana also told People magazine in 2019 that she was happy because she had time to focus on her family while also pursuing her business ventures. But let's be real. Aside from owning a group of restaurants with her husband, she mainly just promotes her different lines that aren't even known by most of the public. Giuliana's current career choices are extremely different from 10 years ago, right before she caused her own downfall. She went from having many incredibly successful, award-winning roles on a major television network to trying to sell her clothing line on the Home Shopping Network. If Giuliana had simply critiqued style and clothing on Fashion Police, she would probably still be the face of E! But that's nobody's fault but her own. After all, she was the one who made a disrespectful and racially charged remark about hair that absolutely ruined everything. Anyway, now that we've gotten into how Giuliana caused the collapse of her successful career, I want to know what you guys think. Do you believe Giuliana's claims that she's happy with where she's at in her professional life? Or do you think she misses the success and popularity she had with E! before her scandal more than she's willing to let on? Let me know in the comments below.